European immigrants living in Birmingham aren't being listened to. The research by the City Council has been looking at how money is spent and whether or not people feel part of Birmingham, and it found that some groups like Pakistani, Indian and Caribbean organisations, they're well represented, but other people do feel a little bit left out. Also, the report wants kids in schools to be taught about Birmingham and the history of the city as well. They also want city ambassadors to sell Birmingham to visitors. BBCWM's James Boville is in Lascelles for us this morning. James, you are the chair of our Brummie Summit. You're looking at some of the issues we've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. I'm at Lascelles Methodist Church this morning, and Lascelles is an area that is diverse religiously, ethnically and culturally as well. You're just as likely in this part of Birmingham to see a Sikh Gurdwara, for example, or a Muslim mosque than you are a church. And this report, as you just mentioned, is suggesting that Pakistani, Indian and Caribbean organisations are actually quite well represented in this city, more so than perhaps some other groups. So I'm going to speak to a few people now who live in this area to get their thoughts on this report, and then over the course of the morning we'll kind of go through some issues and try and find some solutions as well and see whether they agree with what is in this Brummie inquiry. First of all, I'm going to speak to Rattu, who's a community activist here in this part of Birmingham. Do you feel like those communities are well represented in this city, Raj?
What I would say, James, is that I haven't seen the report, so I don't know what's in it. But
you did contribute to the report, didn't you?
Yes, I did. What I would say is areas like Handsworth, Lascelles, Newtown, there are a lot of groups and organisations that are doing tremendous work.
We seem to have got a problem there with BBCWM's James Boville. While we try and get him back, let's speak to Waseem Zaffar. Waseem is the Labour councillor for Lascelles and East Handsworth. Waseem, good morning.
Good morning.
You were behind this report. When you set it out, what is it you wanted it to achieve?
Well, Birmingham is an incredibly diverse place. We have evidence to say that people from 187 different countries have made Birmingham their home since 2007. And what we were looking at as a committee was to ensure that Birmingham City Council and other public sector agencies are working with all communities proactively to ensure that we are supporting a cohesive community in this city. And what is it that brings people together? That was one of the key things for us, not what makes these communities different, but what is it that brings them together. And one of the things we've clearly realised is promoting the city, promoting the heritage and history of the city, promoting the fact that being a Brummie is important and something to be proud of, brings people together and will hopefully create a more cohesive community in the city.
Yeah, the evidence is, unfortunately, though, is that there isn't a cohesive community, is there?
No, in fact, the evidence is that by and large people do live in harmony, but there are some issues in terms of representation. We found evidence that arts organisations in the city are predominantly represented by white male people, whereas we had a social cohesion forum in the City Council, which has a lack of white British people represented there and a lack of females represented there. So there's issues, various issues across different representation bodies, and it's about how we can promote people from all communities. It's a difficult task because, like I said, we've got people from all over the world here, and the title of the title report is Birmingham, where the world meets, and the world does meet here.
Absolutely, but I guess part of the problem of what you're trying to achieve here is you're trying to achieve something that really is something that has to happen organically. You can't force people to be cohesive and everyone be equal, can you?
But you can't. Like you said, we've got places like Lascelles and East Handsworth where it's incredibly diverse. We've got 30 or 40 languages spoken in this area, whereas we've got other areas in the city such as Worsley Green and Washwood East, where it's predominantly one minority ethnic group there. So we do have to leave it for it to happen organically, but we can do a lot more. And one of the things we're looking to do is work in schools. The Brummie History Week idea, the twinning of schools in different areas of the city, that's something else that this report recommends. I think because we have an incredibly diverse city, we can get young people learning off each other in different communities and understanding the cultures that exist here to ensure that when they do grow up, people do live in harmony.
Because one of the things that was in the report was applying for the City of Sanctuary. Just explain what that is, how that would work.
Well, in practice, the City of Sanctuary is about how we support, the status is about how we support refugee communities. There's a list of organisations who've got a list of cities across the country who've got this status. We are, in fact, a City of Sanctuary, as was given, as received evidence from the former leader of the council, Councillor Mike Whitby, who was a Conservative councillor. He said, practically, we are a City of Sanctuary.
Yeah, what does it mean, though?
It means gaining a status that we support refugee communities in this city, which we do, and supporting them greater. Because one of the things that came across was some communities, in particular the newly arrived, felt invisible. That was a word they used, right? And it's about.
Yeah, because this kind of leads on to another thing that's mentioned in the report, another way of welcoming those new arrivals. This thing called Birmingham Ambassadors.
Indeed. We saw how the change makers in London worked during the Olympics. We had Londoners and people from all across the country who are promoting this country. There's people here who love this city, who love their neighbourhoods, and it's about training them up to welcome other people to their city and having ambassadors. This isn't about having superstars from Birmingham promoting the city. It's about having ordinary people who love this city promote their city.
Because this was something that did happen at one time, and then funding was cut and it had to finish. So how would it be paid for this time round?
I don't think it costs much to train people to promote this city. This is the other thing. We are at a time of austerity where there are huge public sector cuts and we don't have much money around. And we took that into consideration. We don't think it would cost much to run an ambassadors program in this city. But
if it doesn't cost much, still, where would the money come from then?
I think public sector agencies would be able to put some money in towards it because cohesion is very, very important for the future of this city. So a lot of recommendations within this report wouldn't cost much. This is the other thing. We clearly had, we did some research about how much this would cost. The ambassadors program wouldn't cost much because you've got volunteers who would be willing to promote their city. So how would it cost any money?
OK. Waseem, good to speak to you. Thanks very much. Waseem Zaffar, the Labour councillor for Lozells and East Handsworth, one of the people, the person behind the report and obviously one of the people that helped with the report. We are asking you this morning because one of the lines that came out of it, it's called the Brummie inquiry, was the level of trust that people have for other people in their area. And they gave kind of the highest and the lowest. The highest was in Sutton Coldfield. 60% of people questioned trusted people in their local area. In one part of Birmingham, though, it was as low as 14.5%. Works out at roughly 1 in 7 people trust other people in their area, which just doesn't sound right and certainly doesn't help towards what they're trying to achieve with this report. So we've been asking you this morning, do you trust people in your area? We've had Gaz the villain in